There are a few things that make me happier than physically farming. Big, sweaty, kind of brutal tasks. I think I've always known in some form that this farm and this work around connecting people and land needed to exist.
You wanna be free of your anxiety, just so catchy. I think the wind likes it.
My name is Leah Penniman, and I'm the founding co-director at Soulfire Farm in Grafton, New York. Soulfire Farm is a Black Indigenous-led community farm that's dedicated to ending racism in the food system and training up the next generation of activist farmers. Between 1% and 2% of farms are Black-owned, which is down from a peak of 14% of Black-owned farms in 1910. And this is not because Black folks don't want to farm. This is because of a whole legacy of discrimination, of institutional racism. I grew up in a small rural town called Ashburnham, Massachusetts. I'm the oldest of 3, and we were, for most of our childhood, the only brown kids in our entire school. And we experienced just a lot of social exclusion and racial bullying. It ranged from taunting, being called names, to assumptions about our intelligence. The land and the forest were a salvation for me. I attended every single farming conference that I could afford to go to. But by my late teens, early 20s, I started to get disillusioned because I'd look around at these farming conferences and all the presenters were white, and I looked around and there was only a handful of people of color. A mentor of mine said something so important to me at that time. She was just like, look, don't give up. I know that right now it seems like you're out of place, but remember that our ancestors have been farmers for millennia and that our ancestors built the agricultural system of this country on their backs. I was really grateful that she was there and encouraged me to stick with it. My partner Jonah and I were living in the south end of Albany, New York with our then infant children, Nashima and Emmett. And despite our master's degrees and over a decade of farming experience, found it impossible to get fresh food for our children. There were no supermarkets, no farmers markets, no available community garden plots. The only food is a corner store, a liquor store, and a McDonald's. This system of segregation is termed by the government a food desert. To us, there's nothing natural about apartheid. So we call it what it is. It's food apartheid. It comes out of a legacy of redlining and housing discrimination, of divestment from communities of color, and has resulted in the situation today where if you're white, you're 4 times as likely to have a supermarket on your block than if you're Black. You're more likely to have diabetes, heart disease, and other diet-related illnesses, not because you don't know how to eat, but because there is a scarcity of affordable, culturally appropriate, quality food that's accessible. And so we work to establish a community garden right on the corner plot near our home. So when our neighbors found out that we knew how to farm, they encouraged us to start the Farm for the People, and the idea for Soulfire Farm was born. We purchased the land in 2006, and it took us 4 years to transform this marginal, degraded, and vacant land into human habitat and suitable farmland. And we opened the farm in 2011 with a small food distribution program that went right to our neighbors in the South End. A couple thousand folks roll through here every year to attend our farm training programs.
The rest of you are just going to contemplate and pray for the strawberries' happy homemaking.
There are 8 of us working here on the farm. We have an amazing team. We have a number of day-long programs and week-long camps for youth who are interested in farming, and a whole lot of community days and workshops on particular skills. It's really whatever our community is asking us for, we do our best to provide. Our most popular is the week-long BIPOC Fire, stands for Black Indigenous People of Color, Farming in Relationship with Earth. We have folks coming from 37 states and 3 countries this year, Spanish and English speakers, young and old. And we spend a week together doing hands-on-the-land training. We have a number of courses on business management, marketing, as well as crop planning. If you count everyone who's gone through any program, we have over 10,000 alumni. We provide ongoing and forever mentorship. We hook folks up with jobs, land, fellowships, and other opportunities. Land is the place where the lynchings, the beatings, the enslavement, the sharecropping took place. And so there's no way to escape the trauma associated with that. And so a big part of what I and we are trying to do at Soulfire is to reach back across the narrative of the hundreds of years of land-based oppression to Cleopatra's, compost piles and the raised beds of the Ovambo people in Namibia, to reach back to the work of Dr. George Washington Carver, creating regenerative agriculture, and Dr. Booker T. Watley with Farm to Table. So to really reclaim the dignity of it is super important. If we can't feed ourselves, we can't truly be free.
All right, so everyone who's part of the tour, just come a little closer. We'll go ahead and get started. We're gonna travel around the farm together, get a chance to visit some of the sacred sites, hear the stories, and you can ask your questions as well as we go. So follow me this way.
Community Farm Day is our monthly public event where volunteers come from all around the region to share in the labor of the land, to have a potluck lunch, and then to participate in a tour and Q&A session. It's the one time that the farm's open to the public.
Now, what's very important with strawberries is that their meristem or growth point is right here. So what do you think happens if you bury that?
Drowning.
It will not grow.
We have a bunch of different teams working on different tasks, including transplanting the fall strawberries, cleaning and curing the garlic and onions, harvesting potatoes, removing some of the materials and supplies that we're done with for the season. And Jonah will be working with some volunteers, many of whom have traveled 3 or 4 hours just to get here today. We have a lot of teens that come through the farm, and not all of them are going to be farmers, but they see folks who look like them following their dreams and being their own bosses and running their own institutions. What matters to me is that they can see a wider vision of what's possible for their own lives.
This is what we're trying to get to, so it's great to see it in person.
Yeah, just a goal.
It makes my heart flutter. Like, honestly, I'm so inspired.
When I say 5, you say minutes. 5. Until lunch, which means you should please help all the teams clean up and put everything away.
We do doorstep delivery of vegetables, eggs, pastured meat, and herbs, and folks can actually pay for that using their EBT benefits. The vast majority of people say that having those vegetables has made a huge difference in their health, whether that's a reduction in blood pressure or cholesterol or overall sense of well-being. And especially for our lower income members, many of them say if it wasn't for those vegetables, they'd literally be eating ramen and boiled pasta and canned foods because they simply don't have anywhere to get, fresh food like we offer. There's nothing that makes me happier than seeing our alumni farm. So for example, Dallas Robinson in North Carolina just recently opened the Harriet Tubman Farm. Folks like Keisha Cameron outside of Atlanta, Georgia at High Hog Farm. Fundamentally, I want to create a different kind of educational environment for young people that I never got to experience, where you can go ahead and be proud to be a soil nerd, and you also will have your culture uplifted, your heritage uplifted, and be affirmed for who you are and encouraged to pursue your wildest dreams.
I see Leah and I stand there and I listen to her and I'm just in complete awe. Like I feel a physical reaction in my body and I just want to be quiet and listen.
I've had mixed feelings in the past around doing public speaking. It always seemed like the real work was here on the farm and then I'd go out and just talk about the real work. And something shifted for me when I witnessed how many people who heard our talks then went on to join a program to learn how to farm, or did something like give away their land to a Black farmer. It's really an honor and pleasure to be here with all of you. I feel excited, I feel deeply pleased to talk about 2 of my favorite things, which are the earth and the ancestors and what they want us to be up to. Our waiting list for our training programs is years long. Our people are yearning, right? Some of us confuse the scene of the crime, which was the land, with the crime. But the fact is the land has always had our back. In fact, we survived because of that connection with the land. My hope is that we spread our love, our knowledge, our resources out through the network of Black and brown farmers so that 10, 20 years from now, people will be like, wait, what's Soulfire again? Because there's literally right around the corner a black and brown led teaching farm, so that it becomes so commonplace that we have to remind our children about a time when all the land was white owned and a time when all the farmers were exploited, because that's become such a distant memory.
Butchery is seen as this really large-scale brute force thing, and it takes a lot of physical strength, but a lot of it is also really intricate and small, kind of meditative moments. Sausage making being one of those things.
The color is still really nice.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. I'm Cara Nicoletti. I'm a fourth-generation butcher and co-founder of Seymour Meats and Veggies. I want butchers in the future to not be scared of people eating less meat. I just think that we need to get a little bit more creative about our job. Everyone, the food is ready. The mission really is to make it easier and more fun for people to eat well. It turns out that adding vegetables, making that meat stretch farther, democratizes good meat, if you will, makes it more available to more people.
They're just so good.
My family's history in butchery started with my great-grandfather. He was a cattle merchant in Russia. That was where my great-grandpa started working in the meat industry. And then he opened a shop in the north end of Boston in the 1940s with some of his family. When my grandpa was 13, him and his brother, Bobby, started working in the shop and eventually took it over. Is that you?
That's me.
Yeah.
That's Bob. I'm Seymour Meats, and I'm a retired butcher. Both of us went to work helping my dad in the meat market. My brother and I were partners until the day he passed away a couple of years ago. This was the store.
Wow.
65 Salem Street. I had 3 daughters. I never thought that my girls would be interested, and they weren't. My daughters used to bring the children into my office for me to take care of them while they went out and did things. And Cara always wanted to go into the smelly room.
I was, out of my sisters and my cousins, probably the most curious about what they were doing in the shop. Growing up, I always wanted to sort of like peek behind the curtain and see. I graduated in 2008. The economy collapsed. I was working at a restaurant as a baker, and one of the owners, who also had a grandfather who was a butcher, was like, if you ever want to do some like light butchery work, breaking down chickens and pork shoulders and stuff, let me know. So I started doing that, and it sort of like sparked an interest in me. So I started apprenticing for free. I did that for about a year and then left to go butcher full time. I remember calling my papa, Seymour, when I got my first apprenticeship. I could tell that he was hoping like it was something that didn't stick.
Well, I said, this is the funniest story, the funniest joke. You're joking with me and everything else. And she said, no.
I really have my entire working life worked with my hands, and I enjoy that much more.
I trusted her and believed in her. As a matter of fact, I gave her some of my tools.
This is Papa's, Seymour's honing steel that he gave me. As soon as I started butchering full-time, I gravitated toward sausage making immediately, and I realized pretty early on that I had hit on an idea. As much as I believe in regenerative agriculture and all of that, there's just no way to sustainably eat meat every single night of the week. So I started sneaking a lot of vegetables into my sausages. I had set out to make 40 pounds of sausages, and after I'd mixed it all together, I weighed out the mix, and it was like 70-something pounds. I had essentially doubled my meat by adding vegetables to it. When I was working at Foster's and just like couldn't physically keep up with the demand was when I realized that it definitely was a scalable idea. It's been the last 2 years of working nonstop trying to get this to market. I went to close to 100 co-packers asking them if they would help me, and every single one of them said no, because what we're doing is more complicated. We finally found one co-packer outside of Kansas City, Missouri, the Phantasmas, and flew out to go see them, and they were like, sure, we'll try it.
Hey!
Hi!
How's it going?
Good, how are you? Oh, hi! I really owe everything to them because they saw something in me, and they saw something in my idea that they thought was worth taking a risk on. I was making Lou and Mario like peel beets and dice them in the thing that makes bologna.
I believe it was the challenge. We never done sausage with vegetables and meat combined at the amounts that she was looking for.
We immediately saw the drive that she had, the passion she had about the sausages she made.
We've always wanted to work with a sausage queen.
Oh my gosh! Vivi, do you want to help me prep some vegetables? We went back and forth about the name for a long time. We had a few different iterations that just didn't stick, and I always wanted it to be Seymour.
These are cooking up fantastic, huh? God, look at those. They're just cooking up.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. I love her, and I said to her, no, don't call it Seymour Meats. Eventually, I wanted her to call it something like Caras Kitchen, because it really, it's her. And of course, I am humbled by what she did, and I'm very emotional about that.
We are all obsessed with Seymour. We love him and use him as a model of positivity and gratitude.
That's delicious. Yeah.
So this is about honoring my whole family.
The truth of the matter is, Cara revolutionized the sausage business.
Make no mistake, this was not an easy process, and I almost quit many, many, many times.
Cara went to Whole Foods and they bought her product immediately. I mean, I can lie awake at night thinking how remarkable it is that she was able to achieve that, and I'm very proud of her.
Butchering is a really, really difficult job with very little financial payoff, but I would not do anything differently. Women make really good butchers and really good cooks, really good chefs. I think the more of us that are in this industry, the better.
I understand what it takes to accomplish what she's accomplished. And let me tell you, it is no easy feat. And it didn't happen overnight for Cara. And it's just the beginning as far as I'm concerned.
I love you so much.
Welcome to Today All Day. All day?
Today all day.
All day. This is a long way of asking who's your favorite character you've ever played? The unicorn. The unicorn. You gotta have the unicorn.
What is she right there? That's why you're saying all these nice things? Yeah, she gave me the look. Sorry to disturb your day. Everyone's mad at you, Willie. Better make this fast. I don't want the wrath of Luna.
When I see you, I always think, I wonder what his quote would be. Give us 6 minutes and we'll ask as many questions as we can.
Welcome to Cold Cuts. Cold Cut. Cold Cut.
My buddy Cal cooking with me.
Dads don't babysit. It's called parenting.
What was the first book you remember loving?
Heart Smart Today were simple exercises to strengthen your heart. Make the most of your beach days.
It's all about the tracksuit now. How good do they look?
I now pronounce you husband and wife. Kiss the bride.
Food, in a way, unlocks a lot of stories.
It's this emotional connection that we get through eating that food that is really irreplaceable.
My name is Chitra Agarwal. I'm a co-founder at Brooklyn Deli, where we make sauces and condiments inspired by my family's recipes from India.
My name is Katevi, and I'm the chef and owner of Dumpling Club, a weekly subscription service that features a rotating menu of dumplings and Asian dishes.
I started Brooklyn Deli in 2014. Our first products at Brooklyn Deli were my achars, which are a staple Indian condiment. They're kind of like this spicy, sour, a little bit sweet. So you add just a little bit and it kind of just makes the dish like amazing. I developed a lot of the recipes for achar using what I was getting in my farm share. So I was making achar from heirloom tomatoes, garlic, gooseberries. I wouldn't say that it's authentic Indian food. It's very much inspired by my heritage, but it's authentic to me.
My grandfather comes from a region in northern China that specializes in dumplings. And to him, dumplings were the perfect food, the best food. I use all sorts of influences in the dumplings. For example, influences from my husband's Austrian side. That's not traditionally how dumplings would be made. I'm learning to be really comfortable with that. In the beginning, I felt like that wasn't truly authentic. But I actually now feel that that's very authentic to me and my experience.
A labor of love learned from generations before them.
The pleating sort of represents on the outside the amount of care that's been put into this food. Whenever we made them as a family, seeing the pleats that my mom or that my grandfather added to the dumplings would remind me that they were the ones who prepared this food for me.
My father's mother, we were just very close. I can still remember the food that she would give me. I can still taste it. They're kind of like food memories from when I was really young, and those continued on as I visited her every year in India. Every trip, we would be in the kitchen.
Growing up, we didn't have regular access to Asian grocery, but I learned about the importance of food from my mom. She would use spaghetti whenever she was making stir-fried noodles. Her creativity, that creative spirit that she had when it came to replicating her home food through whatever ingredients that she had on hand, that's what I feel really inspired by.
Both women left stable jobs for their culinary careers.
It was a really scary time because, I had been working for over a decade in positions where I had benefits, I had an ongoing salary that I could count on.
I left Google in the fall of 2019, and already that year I was starting to make dumplings, send them around to friends and family, and when I decided to really start in earnest was in February 2020, conveniently 1 month before the pandemic hit and everything shut down. I didn't have a steady job or an income at that time, and whenever I had a spare moment, I'd fold dumplings, and then I would stay up all hours editing footage and putting it up on Instagram, and we were just trying to survive.
Despite the pandemic, their businesses not only survived, but thrived.
Our public sales tend to sell out within a few minutes. One time it sold out in less than a minute.
For us, it's been great because more people want to try the flavors that we're putting out there and want to learn more about Indian food and culture. Everything that I really learned how to make, I learned from different family members. So I feel like, in some sense, the Brooklyn Deli recipes also are a way for our family recipes to kind of live on.
When my parents came to the States, they really came here with nothing. And I'm super cognizant of that now, that it's a huge privilege to be able to do what I love, to go after what I love. And that has come from years of sacrifice and hard work from my parents. And knowing that, I want to take that privilege and make sure that I do something really positive with it.